Hey everyone, in this lesson we're going to review ratios and proportions. So I'm going to start with the vocabulary that ratios is a comparison of two quantities. And a strategy that I use with all my students is that you are going to make a table. So in this picture I have boys and girls. So I'm just going to put B for boys, G for girls. And in this picture, I have 5 girls and 10 boys. So my ratio is 10 boys to 5 girls, or 5 girls to 10 boys. And when you make a proportion, you are making equal fractions. So let's say if I was to make a prediction to have 20 girls, how many boys? I could say, well, 5 goes into 20 4 times, and whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 10 times 4 is 40. There would be 40 boys. I could also cross multiply. 10 times 20 is 200, and 5 times question mark is 5x. So if I divide by 5, I will get 40. So that is ratios and proportions. So let's look at 3 questions together. There are 15 big dogs at the dog park. The ratio of big dogs to small dogs is 5 to 4. How many small dogs are at the park? So my vocabulary word in this problem is ratio, and I see the word to, so I'm going to highlight that. That means in my table, I'm going to have big dogs first, and that was 5, and then small dogs was 4. Now the question wants to know how many small dogs. So I'm going to put a question mark for small, and I know at the beginning they said there was 15 big. So I'm going to cross multiply in this problem. 4 times 15 is 60. And 5 times question mark is 5x. And 60 divided by 5 is 12. And that would be my answer. Now, let's look at another question. Ernesto bought the same groceries for Sunday dinner 35 weeks in a row. In that time, he spent $665 on steak. Which proportions may be used to find the amount of Ernesto spent on steak over 8 weeks? In this question, it's asking us just to set the proportions up. It's not asking us to solve. So I am still going to write my table. And in this question, when it says what proportions, that's a vocabulary word, is talking about the amount, so we're talking about money, of steak over weeks. And I want to know the amount of money in 8 weeks. What I do know in this problem is that $665 was spent on 35 weeks. So I know immediately that the very first proportion matches my table that I wrote. But I also know that if I write my table up and down with weeks and money, 35 weeks is $665, and 8 weeks is I don't know, This matches the second proportion. So that is why I teach you the strategy of making a table. Now we got one more question to look at. Question 3. Kiara biked 15 miles over 2 days. At that rate, how far could she ride in a third of a day? So this time I am going to box my variable, my vocabulary word, and the rate tells me to make a table. I'm looking for distance, which is miles, over days. I started with 15 miles in 2 days, and I want to know how many miles in 1/3 of a day. I'm going to solve this the same way that I did the first one. I'm going to cross multiply. 15 times 1/3 equals 2 times x. Now 15 times 1/3 is 15 divided by 3. And that is equal to 5. And that's what I did to get this 5. Equals 2x. And why did I divide by 3? Well, a fraction means division. And when you multiply fractions, you can also simplify by dividing. Now, when I'm looking for x, I'm going to take 2 and go into 5 2 times. 1, bring down my 0, decimal, 5, and my answer is 2.5. Be sure to pause and rewatch the video as many times as you need, and let me know what your light bulb moment is in this lesson. Have a good day.